Welcome back. You're with us here on Editors Roundtable. And of course, we're discussing markets and sectors. Mahesh Patil has been with us and he's been taking those questions. Mahesh, autos, Bajaj, for example, was a big one. And you mentioned briefly, what do you make of it? And is it a problem here in terms of demand for the sector, especially two-wheelers?
So I think, two-wheelers were actually doing well, if you look at it, right? There the growth was much stronger than into the, commercial vehicles started kind of slow down much earlier than we saw into the passenger vehicles. And two-wheeler expectation was that they will do better, right? Because the recovery also there was much later over there. Again, the stocks also have done. In fact, the problem with the auto sector is that it has outperformed significantly. In fact, the valuations, if you look at, right, of all the two-wheeler names, for example, they are like 2 standard deviations above the historical averages. But I think nothing to worry about, I would say that...
the fear is that even if you look at September, the sales numbers, but wholesale numbers, they were good for two-wheelers. But
you have to go to the inventory filling, which was
so
their
maybe
expectations.
The next few months, and this is the festive period, on the retail side, as Bajaj said, festive first 15 days, they said very low single-digit growth. And they're expecting 5% growth in retail sales. Now that, it's a bit worrying, isn't it?
That's what we have to see the whole, how it pans out. But clearly it is disappointing than what the market was expecting. And again, as I said, the valuations are higher and stocks are up. I think the reaction is much sharper. But I would say structurally, I think in the two-wheeler space, again, there's this EV transition also which is coming in, right? So players which have well placed onto the EV journey, I think they'll be able to do that transition much better. So very clearly you are seeing that change in terms of leadership in the two-wheeler space and players who are well placed to capture the EV transition also. So that is another dimension, which needs to be taken into consideration over here.
Mahesh, what about the stock market plays? You were earlier talking about the kind of selling we have seen from the FIs. And many people tell me, Nigel, you don't know the pain we saw in 2008. But I think financialization theme is picking up, and all you can do is you can, keep your SIPs going, make your larger chunks out there. So this financialization theme still has a longer runway to go. But the stocks have rallied as well considerably. What do you make of, the exchanges? BSE did see a big rally, and now, in fact, it's corrected a little bit. So your take, how do you approach this theme?
So I think besides the volatility or whatever short-term impacts because of some of the regulatory things which are there, I think that trend for, again, what you are seeing, despite the volatility in the market, I don't see the money flow into the market or participation. Obviously, the speculative elements which are there in the market, right, which are, I think those will get curtailed a bit. But I think the broader journey for the, capital marketplace will continue because the penetration levels are still low. I think if you take a next 10 years view, right, where the penetrations are and where the ownership is, I think the runway for growth seems to be longer. So if you overlook the short-term volatility and this thing, I think structurally they still look to be good placed fundamentally.
And what's the best? Is it brokers, asset managers, AMCs, exchanges? How do you capture the most of the value?
So I think one is, the asset management companies are the best in the sense because ROC, the free cash flow is very, you don't require any capital, right, to play over there. But I think the wealth managers, if you look at that segment also, and the distributors, I think they are probably well placed because, they benefit, doesn't matter, right? If the asset management also, we are competing for market share, right? We are competing for performance. So it's some way it can be a bit cyclicality.
It's more sticky, right? They own the customer in that sense.
They own the customer. So I think in that sense, I think they look to be much more immune in terms of any cyclicality in terms of individual kind of performance, which you could see in the asset management space. But I think the whole, exchanges also for that matter, right? Kind of monopolistic in that sense, right? And any kind of impact regulatory, they're able to compensate that, right? They have that kind of a pricing power to that extent.
Okay, gentlemen, it's been a long and a tiring week. Wish everyone a restful weekend and come back prepared because next week we'll continue with all the market volatility, news flow, lots of earnings to contend with. With that, it's a wrap on Editors Roundtable from the entire team. Thank you for watching.